Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to this evening's service. As you can see, the rabbi is on vacation and hopefully enjoying a much-deserved rest. But I'm very fortunate to be joined here tonight by Eleanor Rice. We're a very small group this evening, which makes it that much more important for you that are connecting, all of you that are connecting out there with us from wherever you are physically located. Thankfully, we know now our congregation extends far outside of the physical walls of our sanctuary. This evening, we welcome the Sabbath. We let go of whatever thoughts are tied to the prior week, whatever chaos is getting in the way of being truly present. We let it all go in order to focus on the goodness that we bring into our lives when we take the opportunity to be grateful for the rest, peace, and connection that Shabbat offers us. I will be announcing pages from our Shabbat-only Mishkan Tefillah. We begin. And please join me also with all of the English readings. And at home, obviously, you can sing as loud as you want, and hopefully we'll feel you all the way over here. We begin on page 7 with, "Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of our hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide." We continue on page 10 singing Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh, Avarachamon, Meshach Avdecha, Yarutz Avdecha, Kemo Hayal, Ishtakaber turn to page 26 with the Chatzi Kaddish. Oh, I'm sorry, we turn to page 20 and 21 for Lecha Dodi, our most important psalm this evening that welcomes the Shabbat bride. You can turn to page 20 and 21. We read paragraph 1, 2, 5, and 9, and then we rise together at paragraph 9 so that we can stand and welcome our Sabbath bride. Yitorri, to B'chatzi Kaddish on page 27. Our call to worship on page 28 with Baruch. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la We read together, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור ומפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב הרבים. Turn to page 32 for Ahavat Olam. Ahavat et Adonai. Oheb amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivot Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated, and we continue on page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol miyotecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha v'veitecha, u'vlechtecha v'derech, u'shokbecha u'vkomecha, u'kshartam le'ot ayadecha, v'hayu letotapot v'neinecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha, Leman tizkeru v'asitem ekom mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim li'od lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem emet. Turn to page 39, and we read, In a world responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare the glory of God. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then God will we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Adonai, את אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך את אדוני גאל ישראל. Continue on page 43 in the English. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Page 44. Central prayer, the tefillah, on page 46. Baruch atah mechayei metim atarav lehoshia, morit hatal. Mechakel chayim bechesed, mechayei metim berachamim rabim, zomer tovim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umechayei memunato, lishenei avar, lichamocha v'geburot, umidolalach, melach meimit umechayei, onot miach Yeshua, v'nemanat hayot meitim. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hametim. Atah kadosh u'shimcha kadosh u'kdoshim b'chol yom ya'alu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. We turn to page 55. You may be seated with May These Hours. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh HaShabbat. Continue with say in the English, you are with us. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotecha levadecha miran avot. Modim anachnu lach. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words. Page 59. For the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, atoshim cha'olcha lehodot. We turn to our prayer for peace on the following page. Shalom Rav. Of silence for our private meditation or reflection on this past week. We take a moment now to offer a Misha Berach for anyone that is in need of healing, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, for all those that are recovering from COVID-19 and those that are struggling with adapting to our new normal. If you have the name of a loved one of whom our healing prayer may bring comfort to you, you may say their names out loud or hold them in their heart. We turn to page 253. Today have the announcement of our upcoming new month, and you can turn to page 261 as we say our blessing for this new month. יהי רצון מלפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו שתחדש עלינו את החודש הזה לטובה ולברכה שתחדש עלינו את החודש הבא לטובה ולברכה ותיתן לנו חיים ארוכים חיים של שלום חיים שבנעשה חיים שתהבנו אהבת תורה ויראת שמיים חיים שמלאו משלום ליבנו לטובה אמן. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av, Yom Hayom Shabbat Kodesh. The new month of Menachem Av will begin on Friday night and Shabbat morning this coming week. So specifically speaking to this new month that we're entering, we're actually entering a period of time that the rabbis instructed, Misha nichnas av mima'atin b'simcha. From the moment Av arrives, we are to diminish our rejoicing. As Tisha B'Av draws near, the mourning that began with Shiva Asar B'Tammuz intensifies. From Rosh Chodesh Av through Tisha B'Av, we observe additional restrictions. For example, we refrain for the next several days, the next 9 days, we refrain from eating meat, drinking wine, purchasing or wearing new clothes, getting a haircut. However, these restrictions are suspended for the Shabbat and also for several other celebrations such as Sedurat, the mitzvah, the mandatory festival meal, celebrating events like Brit Milah and Pidyon Haben, the ritual circumcision or redemption of a first male-born child, or a siyum, the completion of a study of a tractate of rabbinic literature. But when I began speaking about this period of time with Alyssa this past week, she sort of made a bit of a joke. She said, haven't we just experienced about 16 months of this? And actually, these restrictions are quite right. Yes, so as we begin to open up, we actually are now forbidden to have a haircut. But it's only a few more days. But okay, she's right. And what I began to think about was how ordinarily these activities would bring joy. And yet I've begun to hear more and more about something called like a post-COVID anxiety. You may not have heard of it necessarily within a term like cave syndrome, which I don't actually think about our reentry into a new world. And so I thought this evening it would be an appropriate time to speak about managing this reentry anxiety related to the COVID-19 pandemic, because after all, if you weren't experiencing any sort of anxiety during this time, it would be more unusual than if you were. So what underlies reentry anxiety and how common the anxiety is, and I'd like to also offer maybe a few tips, 10 different tips that I actually thought were quite helpful and inspired by an article published in a journal from the Anxiety and Depression Association and written by Dr. Richa Baitia. And though I should say also, if your anxiety is particularly very any of your friends or anyone that's not a professional, you should go see your doctor or a mental health professional. The COVID-19 pandemic has rapidly and abruptly changed human life in such an unexpected way. In the last few months, since the COVID-19 stay-at-home restrictions came into place, millions of people have been working from home and practicing social distancing. But as the lockdown restrictions are getting lifted or eased in various places, most people are experiencing some sort of degree of re-entry anxiety as they contemplate or attempt to navigate some degree of resumption of required pre-lockdown activities, such as going to work. This anxiety is commonly experienced in the form of fear, nervousness, or dread. So what underlies this re-entry anxiety? The level of uncertainty that was inherent to COVID-19 has been anxiety-provoking for most people. Still, in recent months, many people had started to become habituated to this new way of life, one that was primarily spent indoors. For many people, this started to feel safe or even comforting. Now attempting to resume required activities while the pandemic is actually still here is another transition that, although we have vaccines for, and hopefully, God willing, they are mostly effective, and I know that all of the staff here have had their vaccines, their double vaccination. I had mine 2 weeks ago, and I'm very grateful for that. But we still need time to adapt to this new normal, quote unquote. The pandemic continues to engender an uncertainty, which may involve worries about whom we may infect and whether or not one will get affected regardless of our vaccines. We worry about health in general for our family members, our job worries, financial worries, parenting worries, and I'm sure there's many more worries that we could list. But it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that COVID-19 has posed a threat to our human health and life. So anxiety is sort of inevitable to a response to this threat. So resuming required activities, therefore, is bound to cause some additional anxiety. So reentry anxiety is, as I described before, sort of a evolutionary process. It's protective. It's something that we all probably are experiencing to one degree or another. And it's okay and even healthy to experience this anxiety. Just like a certain amount of anxiety is useful for performance or test taking or having a bar or bat mitzvah, some of the anxiety in this current scenario can actually keep you safe and engage in appropriate preventative behaviors. But we also know that there's a difference between being cautious and having anxiety versus when it becomes pathological and really restrains us from being able to engage in life and prevents us doing the things that we love. So I have 10 tips to manage reentry anxiety effectively that were given by this doctor, Dr. Beta. Practice being in the moment. Now that's not so easy, but take a few moments a day and pause and practice mindfulness. Mindfulness involves non-judgmental attention to awareness of the present moment. And there's so many different mindfulness activities that you can just do a search online and find different meditations for mindfulness. And there's actually several very simple mindfulness-based exercises that can help one feel grounded. This occurs through the activation of a parasympathetic nervous system, which is linked with relaxation. So it actually lowers our heart rate and blood pressure, lowering stress hormone levels, and there's a lot of other positive effects that are seen with a mindfulness practice. So, and also, like most things, if you practice it regularly, even just for a few minutes a day, it is most beneficial. 2, recognize what you can control. So many people that are experiencing this sort of lack of control during the pandemic, doing something simple but important things such as following COVID-19 guidelines from authentic sources, obviously, can help you regain some of your sense of control in otherwise uncertain times. Recognizing and working on what we all can control can be a valuable step in overcoming anxiety. Pay attention to your unique situation. Your reentry anxiety may have additional valid reasons. For instance, if you're 60 years or older, or you're suffering from an underlying health condition, especially in the case, it's important to consult your physician before making any reentry decisions or plans. Your physician would be able to take into account all of these circumstances, and you could come up with recommendations for next steps accordingly. Number 4, engage in something fulfilling. So, of course, my suggestion, come to services Friday night and Saturday morning. We are now open for 25 people every Shabbat, providing our levels are as low as they are and we continue going into a right direction. It would be wonderful to get to meet many of you. So that would be my engage in something fulfilling, but perhaps there are other things that you also find fulfilling. So even just a few moments a day, playing a game with your child or listening to your favorite music, playing an instrument or exercising, painting, drawing, helping an elderly neighbor. So number 5, take a gradual approach. If required to resume certain activities, doing it gradually, one step at a time, rather than rushing into things, is likely to work better. So if you try something and you're not comfortable with it, you can always leave, such as if you come to services and you don't feel comfortable. No one will be offended if you leave at that point, but come, try. Try to join us. Number 6, journaling. Journaling can have a positive health benefit, even just a few moments a day. It seems like everything is just a few moments a day. All you need are a few moments to do any of these. So journaling may be beneficial in the form of free-flowing writing, where you write whatever thoughts or feelings that come up. They can help you gain perspective and clarity and understand your thoughts and emotions better. 7, you might laugh at this one, but I know it actually works for people. Schedule a time to worry. So scheduling a time to worry during the day can be actually a useful strategy. You select a time which you schedule as your worry period for about 20 to 30 minutes every day. So when worry thoughts come up during the day, you know that you're going to postpone that thought until your worry time. And you can actually give yourself a validation by saying, I am going to worry, I am going to take the time that I need to think about these things, but you're not going to spend all day ruminating. Okay, number 8, practice gratitude. Gratitude-based interventions can help anxiety, particularly in a pandemic, when plans seem to be going awry. So writing down about all the things that one's grateful for is a valuable exercise, and it actually can offer a bigger perspective for all of us. And I know for me, gratitude is often connected to my spiritual understanding. Avoid alcohol and drugs. This may seem obvious, but for those of you that it's not, people tend to lean on alcohol to cope with anxiety, and actually it has the opposite effect. It can start out pretty benign, but we do know that the levels of alcoholism and drug addiction have taken off during or increased during this time. And so if you've noticed that you are not able to stop drinking when you'd like to, please seek professional help. And many people, this may increase their anxiety, but ultimately you can get help. Stay connected, number 10. The pandemic has caused so many of us to feel isolated, and we know that social connectedness is a positive protector factor for mental health. And the good news is that we've had technology that have been able to keep us connected with our friends and family, with our congregation. But now that we have physical distancing allowed within the sanctuary, please connect with us, come to services. Have I said that a couple times already? I'm anxious to meet many of you, all of you. And in addition to the above-mentioned strategies, I'd say it's important to attend to self-care, sleep regularly, schedule healthy meals, and start exercising as permitted by your physician. And this can all go a really long way in making us be able to re-enter a world that will hopefully be for the better in the coming months. And of course, if you're struggling and you're not sure who to contact, the rabbi and I are available to try and find you resources as well. And please know that you're not alone. And we continue with Aleinu on the bottom of page 282, and we rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, ha'tekedu l'aliyotzer breshit, shelo asanu kugoyei haratzot, velo samonu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'kor aleinu k'choamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishpachavim yodim, livnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Page 285 on the top in English. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the world of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Page 287 in the MR. Turn to page 290. Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God in each hour of the 24, and each moment then. In the faces of men and women I see God, and in my own face, in the glass, I find letters from God dropped in the street, and everyone is signed by God's name. And I leave them where they are, for I know that wheresoe'er I go, others will punctually come forever and ever. We now come to a page that I can't find, so give me just a moment. At this time, our congregation extends its sympathies to our members and their families who have suffered a recent loss. Myrna Lewinsky on the loss of her mother, Helen Mossoff, Paul and Susan Surmer, Julian Paul, Tanya and Avi, Ethan, Carly, Jordan, Elizabeth, Dana, Oded, Noam, and Alon, on the loss of their mother, mother-in-law, grandmother, and great-grandmother, Susanna Surmer. Please accept my sincerest apology should I pronounce your loved one's name incorrectly. We remember those whose yurtsites we observe: Sarah Azaroff, Marlene Bloom, Bessie Brettschneider, Kenny Chankowski, Bessie Cohen, Emmanuel Copeland, Philip Fabish, Abraham Francis, Maurice Gaum, Isaac Greenberg, Bob Grimm, Fanny Halperin, Florence Kaplan, Eva Karnofsky, Leon Katz, Martin Landsberg, Robert Lipschutz, Sally Little, Gert Rosenberg, Meilich Ryback, Elsie Saul, Ruben Stein, Daniel Gary Stup, Lottie Tepper, Alan Walensky, Jaime Warha, Bennett Youngworth, Susanna Zaid, and we remember the Jews of our adopted town in Michle, Czech Republic, who perished in the Holocaust: Elsa Chaktova, Vera Chaktova, Carol Herman, Klaus Hermann, Rudolf Hermann, and Rudolf Hermann. And if at home you have a name to share for the Kaddish that I have not, please share that name now as we rise together as a congregation, here or wherever you are, in support of our mourners. At this time, we also remember members of our armed forces that have died overseas, our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael that have died in so many wars, all the innocent people in this world who have lost their lives to violence, conflict, hatred, chaos of nature, and neglect, As together we pray, Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shmei Rabbah, v'yalma dibara chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitfa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei Kodesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata d'hamiran v'yalma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imeru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imeru Amen. And I'd like to invite Alyssa up for the land acknowledgements. It's
Okay.
definitely on.
At Temple Har Zion, we acknowledge that we are situated on traditional territories and treaty lands. The territories include the Wendat, Anishinabek, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations, and the Métis Nation. As Jews and as a community, may we always strive to fulfill our Jewish value of tzedek tirdot, the pursuit of justice in our society.
Thank you. Okay, and we have just a few announcements. So, morning minion services are held via Zoom, Sundays at 9 a.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:15 a.m. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., there'll be a study Torah with Rabbi Bill Tepper. Monday at noon, Zoom with the THZ Knitters. And Wednesday at 7:30, virtual tour of Old Jewish Toronto. And this you need to register online for. Also, register today to book your spot on the green at the 24th Annual THZ Dick Grimm Memorial Golf Classic. If you don't golf, you can still buy a raffle ticket and have a chance to win some great prizes, including a sports weekend in downtown Toronto. And I believe that every year people look forward to seeing the new pants that our rabbi brings to wear.
Highlight.
Oh, okay, good. So please refer to our e-blast for details, links, and other events, or go to harzion.ca. Check out our Facebook page and Instagram pages. And I thought that it would be appropriate to end this evening's service, as we spoke about anxiety and fear, with the text, "Don't be afraid," or Gesher Tsar Me'od, that this is a saying by Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. The entire world is but a narrow bridge, but the most important thing is not to be afraid. Shalom.